Let's continue the conversation with criminal defense lawyer Bradford Cohen and criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor and adjunct professor of law at Cornell University, Randy Zellin. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on. Randy, let's start with you. Judge Juan Merchan, he's expected to take about an hour instructing the jury on what can and cannot be taken into account as they decide former President Trump's fate. How important are the instructions? What do they look like? What do you make of it?
Well, certainly we could spend at least an hour, maybe more, going through the jury instructions because the judge distills the instructions. Now, the instructions basically come from a book. Anyone could almost go online to the Office of Court Administration and see what they are. They're called the pattern jury instructions. Here, to me, what will be important will be the definition of reasonable doubt. Anytime you've got to make an important decision in your own life, if you need more information, you have a reasonable doubt. The difference between circumstantial evidence and direct evidence. Circumstantial evidence, as the judge will explain, you may be in a room with no windows, so you don't know what's going on outside weather-wise. But if someone walks into your house soaking wet with a wet umbrella and a wet coat, you could reasonably infer that it's raining outside. And of course, the credibility of witnesses. And to me, what is critically important is the judge's instruction on if you find that something a witness said is false, you can disregard the entirety of that witness's testimony.
Bradford, want to get your thoughts on this. The jury has been off now for almost a week. They've had a break. They haven't been sequestered. But Trump attorney Alina Habba says they should have been sequestered during the holiday. I know that you have worked very close with former President Trump, the Trump Organization. You're also on The Apprentice. So in terms of agreeing with Alina, what do you think? Do you agree the jury should have been sequestered? And also, second part of the question, where do you think the former president's head is on this day today?
On the first part of the question, it's a tough call. You have a very important case. You have a very important individual who's being tried on what, for all intents and purposes, is a novelty case, the way that they're presenting it. So whether or not they should be sequestered, I would have erred on the side of caution and probably sequestered them. It's not a large ask. It's not a large call for the judge to do that. It's a tough one because you don't want to treat cases differently, but this case is different. And you really should have taken every step, every precaution, because these individuals could read the newspaper, could see the news. It's impossible to read something about the president these days. You can open up any newspaper and the front page is going to be something about Donald Trump. What was your second question? I'm sorry. What was your second question?
Having worked closely with the former president, where do you think his head is today? Not specifically because it's Memorial Day, but more because it is the day before this very important week in the courtroom.
I think that his head is always in the game. He's always thinking about what the judge is going to do, how the judge is or is not biased. In this case, I think he's very biased. From what we've seen and the decisions that have been made by the court, a lot of evidence that has come in and evidence that has been excluded has been unusual in this type of case. When you have a white-collar crime such as this, you don't get a lot of details such as Stormy Daniels' testimony of sexual encounters that she alleged happened. You don't get those things in white-collar cases generally. So it's unusual the way that he put evidence in. It's unusual that he kept evidence out. So I think he is probably thinking that he's concerned with how the jury instructions are going to be read. I think he's concerned with the case itself. Mm-hmm. But as always, he's Donald Trump. He always tries to think positively. He always comes out on top. And I think that ultimately this case will be heard in the appellate division if there's a conviction. And I think that he'll win in the appellate division.
Randy, let's talk about falsifying business records as a misdemeanor. To bump it up to the felony, you needed a second crime. A lot of legal scholars say they don't have any idea what this second crime is. Can you elaborate on this? Did the prosecution ever prove this? What do you think?
No. And I should probably stop right there because nobody knows what that crime is. The jurors don't know. None of us who are commenting on this know. The parties don't know, which is the abject ridiculousness and why there is already built-in reasonable doubt. And part of the jury instructions that we all can't wait to hear is going to be how the judge instructs the jurors on this magical, mystical other crime that we still don't know about. For that reason alone, I don't think there's going to be a conviction. And if there is, I agree with Bradford. This case doesn't get out of the appellate division on constitutionality grounds, because how can you as a defendant reasonably be expected to defend yourself against a charge that you're unaware of?
Okay, well, the case, it continues tomorrow.
That charge we'll be
right
watching
here
closely, as I know
New
you
York
both
City.
will.
Bradford Cohen, Randy Zellin, gentlemen, thanks for coming on. Good to see you.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.